To turn a scatter chart into a bubble chart doesn't take that many steps to complete. Why would we want to actually then turn it into a bubble chart? Well, looking at this, we can see that we have quite some variation between the offered amount and the sale amount. If I take one particular data point in a residential property, you can see here that the difference between the offered and the sale value was around about 62,000. Whereas if I come over again on this residential property, then the difference between the two was 1.1 million and a little bit more. But each data point is the same size, so I can't really see quite quickly where the biggest impact is on the variation that's taking place. By turning it into a bubble chart, I can see that. And the way I'm going to do that is by grabbing the variance from the right-hand data column, and I'm going to click and drag that into size. And now I have a bubble chart. And by looking at this bubble chart, the largest bubbles that we see are where we see the largest pieces of variation. So if we come down here again, see if I can find that one that was about 10,000 or 60,000. There it is. There's a 60,000, and it's a bubble behind a bubble. But this one here would be the one that I'd be worried about most if I was doing this piece of analysis. I've got a very large piece of variation between the sale amount and the offered amount. And if I come to the extreme on this part over here, then I've got a piece of commercial property that is a sale value of 5 million being offered around about 4 million. So I've got quite a large variation in what they're actually offering me. So that is how we'd actually then take a scatter chart and then turn it into a bubble chart. The beauty about a scatter chart is that it's also one of the most dynamic and the only dynamic visual that we have within Power BI. And what I mean by that is we have this little option at the bottom that says play axis. And what I'm going to put in there is not a piece of numerical data, but actually a piece of date data. So I'm going to come over and grab the month from the date hierarchy, and I'm going to click and drag that into my play axis. And when I let go, you'll see that December appears on the top right-hand corner, and a lot of the data disappears. And the reason for this is because that little play bar that you see in the bottom there, the actual icon for it is ended up right at the very end of the data set. If I come and actually press the play button here on the left-hand side near January, you'll see how it goes through the years and the slider moves along, and we're seeing the data over that particular time frame. And that's what makes it dynamic. I can then grab that slider, which has now ended up back over in December, click and drag it back to the months. And let's start off with February. And I can see the position of my analysis in February. As I work my way through the months, you can see again how it actually then changes. And there in May is that large piece of residential property that had quite a large variation in the sale and offered amount. And if we keep on clicking through, we can see the data change over time. And there is that large piece of commercial property that we talked about with that 2 million variation. So this is what makes it dynamic and allows us to actually see the data over time. One other thing that we can actually do with this to tidy up the picture a little bit, because it is quite busy, if we come over to the filters pane, which has been squeezed at the moment, but if I click on this double arrow, it'll open up, then you'll see here that this property type has actually then got some selections for me. It says select all at the moment, but if I check that and remove all the boxes and then just check residential, then all I will see in my scatterplot is the residential property. Again, if I play that over time, then I can see the position over the 12-month period of how that variation has taken place. And I can repeat that for pretty much the commercial and the vacant land. Let's uncheck that and put it back to select all. Let's put that visual back to where it was before. So you've now got an opportunity to tidy up the visual and focus in on whichever legend type you actually then want, and also then play that analysis over time. And that is how you would then create and use a bubble chart.